Hey everybody, welcome back to Champ and Sons and our Formula One series. And we have got a heck of an episode today as we are at our home track here in the United States Grand Prix, the circuit of the Americas, right outside of my home city of Austin, Texas. And this is a beautiful track and facility, I will tell you that much. Um, I say that, never been to a race there because the tickets are way too much, but went there for a Christmas light show one time. Pretty nice. And this track has got a lot of elevation changes. You see that little S curve coming into 3, 4, and 5, and it kind of extends out to 6. That is one of the coolest sections on the track, and I'll say this, it's also one of the more difficult ones. But we've continued to make updates to our car. We've changed out some power pieces um, for the engine. Now, we haven't been able to change everything out just because of the timing, so we still have some work to do. But this race in front of our home track is a big deal to us, and that's one of the reasons why, with the parts that we were able to change out, we have been able to claim the pole position. And that was big for us. Not sure why the picture's not showing. I just noticed that. Huh. Oh well, so be it. As we get through the top 10, look at Sebastian Vettel all the way back there in 7th. He's been our main rival. Since I have simulated the races between Russia to now, we obviously didn't perform very well, averaging about 15th place. And so we did technically lose that rivalry. But in this sense, we've got the pole position. We're in front of our home crowd at our home track. And let's get this show on the road as we get a good, fast start. Now, Hamilton was starting out in number 2, which technically is the inside, I guess, lane coming into this first turn. So I did check real quick, and he was not there. And so it made it a little easier to kind of block him off and dive inside. But here comes this little S-turn groove, which is a lot harder to hit properly, as you can kind of see. Taking some of those turns a little too wide and coming in a little too hard on them. And that's what you kind of got to love really about this game versus some other racing games that we have, the NASCAR game primarily. Um, is all the different whips and turns that you go through in a single track, the braking that you got to do, the gear shifting that comes into play. And that's what I really enjoy about this, and also makes it incredibly challenging, especially coming into that S section and having these constant turns throughout the track. Now, with that being said, I'm not sure when the new NASCAR game is coming out. Apparently, they've redone a lot of it. Let me know down in the comments if you think we should get a series going on that, and we might be able to just make that happen if we get enough, basically, comments or likes on that one. And so we're going to be coming around here. We're a little past halfway on this first lap, and we've actually been able to gain a second. That is through all of our upgrades. Once we get through kind of the last race of the season and going into season number 2, we'll discuss and show off the car a little bit more and kind of where we are on updating all of our departments. But first lap in, we do claim or keep the number 1 spot as we come here into the second. And what I want you to pay attention to in that top left corner right there is going to be the timing between us and Hamilton. He's always been the biggest thorn in my side. But see how we have it at about just over a second now. And if you take this little S-turn thing not as properly as you should, you can see he's already cut that down by probably about half a second at this point. And so he gets able to come shooting up, and that's why we have to be careful coming through this section of the track. It's just a must-do. Now, we did get through that pretty clearly, but Hamilton is right on our butt. And so I like these sharper turns because we can come out of them a lot stronger. Coming into these straightaways, it's still, we've got enough power, I think, to kind of maintain. It's not something we're really going to gain a whole lot of distance on the cars like Mercedes, Ferrari, and all that. But we're able to at least maintain, or whatever we do lose, we're not losing it in the big chunks like we were before. So by the time we do hit these turn sections, we're able to actually come out of them, fire off, and allow some of that separation of distance between us and the cars behind us. Now, this track, it does have pretty decent length. I think it's a little over 3 miles in the length. and there are a lot of spaces where we can build up some good speed, but overall, it's one of those, if you go too fast, you're going to have to hit these corners hard coming into it to make it, because there are a lot of sharp, tight turns. As we get done with the second lap, they're having a little bit of a lag issue on the video. That tends to happen. We still maintain the first place position. Through 2 laps, now we are on the third, coming into that S-Bend section. A little wild one, and I'll say this: if I ever got tickets to this race, that is the place I would want to be at. Forget the finish line. I want to be right there to see those cars hauling around those sections. And the grip to the track is a whole lot better. We still have some work to do in that area as far as our chassis goes and everything, but I think we're on the right track at least. Now here we are on the 9th lap. Hamilton actually pitted on the 8th lap, so he should be out of the pits by now. Now that'll put him somewhere around last place, but you know, with our strategy, we went with a 2-stop strategy. First set obviously is going to be the soft tire. That's pretty much unanimous across all teams. But the second set we're going to put on is going to be a set of hard tires. So we're actually getting ready to come into the pits for our first stop, and that's going to play a big role. Normally we generally tend to have some sort of front wing damage, which means we have to replace the wing, and that leads to delayed pit stop more or less, and so we lose a lot of position there. However, this go around, we actually we don't have any damage because we were able to get out on such a good start and maintain first. So here we come into the pits for the first stop on lap number 9. And see, that's a sharp turn getting into the dang pits, for God's sake, before essentially the autopilot takes over when you're in pit lane. But coming in behind us, Bottas, Vettel, Leclerc. Actually, Leclerc stayed out. Vettel and Verstappen did both decide to pit behind us. So we have Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, a bunch of the big names right there behind us. And look at that, 2.6 seconds, because no part had to be replaced. And we get out of there, and what would probably be record timing for us as we shoot out. And if you look, we only lost 7 spots. We're down to P8. We're on the hard tires. We were able to get out in front of Hamilton. Once again, just barely, but hey, we got out. Now, the people we're chasing, Perez, Raikkonen, every one of them, they're still on their first set of tires, right? So they're obviously taking their pit stop later, but I got to be patient with this. Is normally where I tend to damage my car and trying to make a pass on a situation like this or something, especially when you start seeing you're able to kind of get some movement up. Right now, my biggest concern is making sure I keep Hamilton at bay. But if I can make the moves on Perez or Raikkonen before they go into the pits, I mean, that'll just make things that much easier in my life, and hopefully actually use them to be able to block Hamilton a little bit more. Now, we are gaining on them slightly, so I do have to time this out right, especially coming into these turns. Here, the sharp turns aren't really what bothers me. I can shoot in and kind of fend them off for the most part. It's the wider turns where you're tempted to go on the outside, knowing you probably won't be able to hold it on that outside with the type of speeds that we're coming in on. 150, 160 into some of these turns. Try to hold the outside edge, it's going to shoot you out off the track, and that's just not good for anybody involved. Now, through the 10th lap, we are maintaining 8th spot. We have gained on Hamilton. Some other guys have gone into the pit, so we've been able to move up now to the P4 spot. Still behind Raikkonen and Perez. Now, thinking about trying to make that move, it just wasn't meant to be. Could not come off or come back on the gas hard enough there. And then we go through this little segment, and we really miss just about every corner. We take them in the green because we're able to actually maintain control, but it's not the ideal path, and so we're just not able to gain everything that we really wanted to. Now, we are right there on Perez's keisters. He's less than half a second ahead of us, but it's still going to be some crafty maneuvering to get past him, and I really just don't want to hit him is my biggest concern, especially coming into those sharper corners. Now, Raikkonen started to break away, so that's not really what I want to see. But I need to just maintain my focus on Perez at this time. Let me just worry about him for a minute as we do shoot on the outside. And see, that's what I mean. If I didn't back off right there, we were going to be stuck almost in the grass at that point. Had to hit the brakes, come in a little too hard. Downside is now Hamilton once again is right on our tail. And so we've got to be careful with it. Time it out just right. That's the biggest thing in Formula One I've about figured when it comes to passing. And trust me, it's taken me a lot of races to get that, is we have got to time this out just about perfect to be able to make that shoot down into the inside of the turn to where we can actually get in there. And right there, make the shoot. Took that turn a little too tight. Probably could have gotten a warning for that, but we do get past them. And here we are into second place, right behind Lance Stroll, who's got a couple seconds ahead of us. So it's going to be a little bit before we're able to get him back, although he's still on his first set, so we know he will have to pit at some point. Our hard tires, we've been on them for about 3 laps, not seeing a whole lot of wear, so we're taking around this track pretty dang well and comfortably as far as our car goes. Now, you did see some of those engine components were yellow. They are starting to wear down. They're pending to be replaced. They just weren't able to be done by this race. And with that being said, knowing we only had the 1 pit stop, we are going to go ahead and advance to 2 laps to go where we have reclaimed first place. All right. The man, Lance Stroll, went into the pits. We were able to take it comfortably. And now the warm tires have really heated up, so we got a lot of better grip. And I can tell you, we are just hauling keister around this track. The amount of separation we get from Hamilton coming off these turns has just been fantastic. Cannot thank this car enough for handling the way it has, and the way it's been put together has really worked out for us in the end. Now, 27 lap, we're on lap number 27 out of 28, and we got new tires basically on what I would say is lap 10. So we're looking at 18 laps on these tires. These hard ones, you're really only going to go about 20 to, I'd say, 25 laps if you drive properly before you have the risk of them blowing. So they are worn down, I believe, to around 30, mid 30%, 30 to 45, mid 30s, mid 40%. Let's just say that 35 to 45% wear is what we are looking at. So this is going to be my race to lose at this point. It's kind of been that way for most of it since the very beginning, even claiming the pole in the qualifying rounds. So with it being my race to lose, all I got to do really is hope my car holds together. And if you look at the bottom right, there's that little engine icon. We are now in a dark red. We started the race in an orange. So I thought the tires were the worst thing I had to worry about. No. Now I got my engine components I got to worry about. And that's just not anything that, see, look at that. Ooh, they're getting some dark yellow right there. Got to make sure, I just need it for 1 more lap. At this stage, it's probably about 2 miles. That's all I need is for this car to hold together. I hit those turns, not as good, but pretty decent. Not as well as I would normally like to do it, but we have a big enough lead, 5 seconds, where the only way Hamilton, I think, could catch up to me at this point is if I basically wreck myself out. If I go spinning out, if I don't hit the turn correctly, and I launch myself too far out and lose control. That's what I'm saying. This is my race to lose. Now, Hamilton was 5 seconds behind, but now he's at 4.5. So he's kind of catching up there. But that type of lead, we're halfway through this track at least. And so we're going to be coming into this back half, just making sure we don't screw up. That's my biggest fear right now. Anybody that's watched the series has seen I've generally tended to screw up multiple times before. And so we are trying to just hold it together so we can get across this finish line. That is the biggest thing. Just keep the car on the track, get around these last few turns, and we are getting ready to come up to them here in just 1 second. As we've got this final little straightaway, here comes the final turn and our checkered flag as we will take the win again. Another victory for us in our opening season. That is how you want to race in front of your home crowd right there. Dominating victory over Mercedes, over Hamilton, over Vettel and Ferrari, Verstappen and Red Bull. That was a perfect performance. Really, drove the best that I could hope to drive with the car that we had and those components, taking the hits like they did. So race winner, we will take that number one spot on the poll. It'll give us some points. We're nowhere near the driver championship. It will help out our team. Point standings, not all that much. We're still actually a mid-level team at this point, which I guess should be considered pretty dang respectable for starting out for the first season. Maybe next year if we can snatch a few more wins, we might have a chance to be able to kind of claim that top prize. But for now, we'll just live in the moment and enjoy our victory here in Austin, Texas at the US Grand Prix. That is what we needed as we come to the end of the season, finish off with some momentum, keep everything moving forward. That is the life that we are going for right now. So let's see what the press wants to ask us. It doesn't get much better than a win at USA, does it? Hell no, it don't. That's my home team, people. I grew up in Austin. Been out to that track. Live not too far from it. In fact, where my house is, you can hear those engines going during the race if the wind blows properly. Breaking all expectations. Yeah, that's a team thing. What do you think made the difference between this weekend and last weekend, which, like I say, was simulated? That's a hard one. All the effort the teams put into the power unit, the chassis. Chassis never really gets much love, so I'm going to go ahead and give them a little bit of love today. Now, our teammate's also an American, so this was technically his home Grand Prix as well. So give that kid some credit. Let him be happy also. So that is going to do it here in the Circuit of the Americas, and we're going to get moving on to what will amount to be the last race of the season. And that should be a pretty big one for us, needing a good finish there. So if you have not subscribed already, definitely hit that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up if you do like Formula One racing, or you even want to see a NASCAR series coming up. And remember to hit that little notification icon to be notified of all Champ and Sons content as we get it uploaded to the channel. And I will see y'all in the final race of this season. So until then, everybody, stay safe. And, well, you know how it goes by now. Later, y'all.